All right, I think we are ready to start. My name is Bodo Kubartz from Passion and Consulting. I'm a consultant, a writer, and journalist. And I would like to welcome you all at our workshop, The German Market, Shedding Light on a European Enigma. And before I will introduce you to the panelists, I will briefly mention that I came up with this idea of an enigma in terms of Germany because on the one hand, we see in Germany for the last 10 to 15 years significant economic growth and well-being and so forth. And if you would be a brand outside, you would think there are a lot of opportunities on the German market. But as we know, and we will talk about that, there are several challenges and a changing environment. So what we will talk about is what kind of challenges and difficulties, but also opportunities we will see on that market. But let me first introduce you to the panelists that are on this panel today, and I'm very glad that you all made it here. Thank you very much for coming. I will start in alphabetical order and with ladies first. So Kathryn Malley of Lafferty was born in Vienna and grew up in Germany. After achieving a business degree in 2000, she worked at a consulting company. And since 2006, you have been in the perfume distribution business. In 2010, after working for Italian and German distributors, you founded your own company, which is Lafferty, and you are taking care of artistic perfume brands such as Cartusia, Healy, Eau d'Italie, and Altaia, and many more. So you have been in the industry for 15 years. Thank you. Second, I would like to welcome and present Silvia Shona, which is in the beauty business for more than 40 years now. She has been with Douglas for 33 years, and of those 33 years, she has been on the Königsallee, the famous and prestigious Allee in Düsseldorf for 22 years in leading position. So she has systematically introduced and built niche brands and established also exclusive niche brands only for the Königsallee. She left Douglas last year and she's looking for new endeavors. Third, I would like to introduce Alexandra Stricker of Classic Parfums. Alexandra, the Italian version, so to say, graduated with a bachelor's degree in economics, and in her 20s, she worked in a year in France and also in the US. Back in Germany, she started to work for IT telecommunication, stock exchange companies in international sales and strategy and sales development. And in 2007, she joined her husband, Herbert Stricker, who is also here, with the company Classic Parfums, which is on the market for 25 years now. Classic Parfums is a distributor which operates in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And you are distributing brands such as Tiziana Terenzi, Sergioff, Lorenzo Villoresi, Stefan Humbert Lucas, and Histoire de Parfum, as well as Welton and many others. And last but not least, I would like to introduce Christian Waas. Christian Waas, Beratung, Vertrieb and Training means consulting, distribution and training. He was born in Germany into a perfumery retail family with 13 stores in the southwestern part of Germany. He studied psychology and philosophy in Frankfurt, as well as business administration and marketing in Mannheim, and you graduated with a diploma from that university. Initially, he worked as a promotion manager for Germany's largest cooperative of private perfumeries, which is Beauty Alliance, and I will speak about that in a little bit. In 1999, he started his own company, which is an agency for beauty events, training, and consulting. In this context, you gained a lot of experience in working with big players such as Coty, P&G and L'Oreal, but more recently you have been very keen on working for niche or artistic perfume brands such as the Different Company. So thank you very much for being here. I would like to start with a few comments on the German market. I'm sorry that you can't see very well here, but it's very obvious for you that in terms of Germany, we see a very complex overall perfume and cosmetics market. And that has to do with several different facts. And I'm just listing a couple of these facts here, such as the multitude and the different types of points of sale, the dynamism of the marketplace in general, so not only in terms of brands, but also in terms of retailers and distributors. And especially for those brands, there's a significant challenge to remain on that market. And we will talk about that, how this is involving you as distributors in particular. And last but not least, there's surely, and we will also talk about that in terms of retail, there's surely a limitation in terms of adequate and relevant doors for artistic perfumery. So on the next few slides, and I don't want to keep you too long in that context, I will present some information on the one hand from the VKE, which is the Association of Distributing Companies of Cosmetics Products in Germany, which is closely working with a market research agency, namely ERI. And on the other hand, I will work with data from the Bundesverband Parfumerie, which is the National Association of Perfumeries. And I would like to thank those three organizations. So first of all, this is German, sorry, but I will just raise the main points for you here. So the first question here, when you see Kosmetik Einzelhandel, the question comes up, where is cosmetics in general retailed? And what you see here, the important fact for us here is, I think, the perfumery part of the whole business. So you see also drugstores and so forth. The perfumery business would make up around 20%, 1/5, so to say, of the market in 2015. So second, and that covers, as I said, that covers cosmetics overall. Second, what's the turnover of the perfumery segment over the years? And we see figures from 2010 till 2017. So you see an increase overall in terms of turnover until 2016, and then a slight drop in 2017. I don't want to comment on that at this point, but just to give you a rough idea. Third, and the next two slides are pretty interesting, I think. What are we seeing in terms of market participants? So this number here means that in total, we see corporations on the market, 700, around 700. More important maybe is this number, points of sale, around 2,700 points of sale. And we have a share between chain stores or franchises, which are covering 60%, including such big corporations like Müller and Douglas, and 40% are owner-operated. So what is important here is also that we see increasingly developing regional structures of perfumeries. And then another very interesting fact, I think, is to what kind of organization do those perfumeries belong. On the one hand, I mentioned at the beginning when I introduced Christian, I mentioned Beauty Alliance. So this is a cooperative that has a pooled services and contains 290 perfume retailers, and you see the number with around 1,200 doors. And second, it's followed by Müller and Douglas with about 520 and about 400 doors of those two perfumery chains. And then, beside another cooperative, Wir für Sie, we see about 135 independent perfumeries. And I would say that among those doors, or the amount of doors that actually is able to stock artistic perfumery, and depending on the range, the price range and the type of artistic brand that we are looking at, we see between 20 or 30 for the very prestigious brands, and up to, I would say, 70 to 80 doors for the more mass-oriented artistic brands, but we can talk about that as well. So, to finalize with a few slides from the VKE or from Erie, what you see here is the market evolution of selective perfumes, so giving you ideas about male and female accumulation. And what you see here at the top is that the value in terms of 1,000 euros, as well as the units in terms of 1,000 units, you see on the one hand a slight decrease from 2017 to 2018, but I have to assure you, selective here means that those perfumes that are considered selective are either sold in perfumeries or department stores. So what we see here is that there is an increase in the selective, or only a slight decrease in terms of the selective business. So when you consider all also mass market brands, you see a larger drop from 2017 to 18. And what you also see here on this average price per unit is that we also see the average prices increase. So that might be a good sign for us here. And second, what is also an interesting slide, I think, is the value share of total female versus total male sales, or the evolution of prices, sorry. And we see here what is also very interesting for us in terms of artistic perfumes, that especially those brands with about or more than 100 euro retail price see growth, not only in terms of female sense, but also especially in terms of male sense. So what we see from these two or these areas up there is that one could say that the more expensive products do better. And then finally, I would just like to hint to this one comment, and maybe we can see that as a starting point for our discussion. I would like to read that from a price perspective, the higher/luxury price classes do best, a positive sign for the prestige market, even in challenging times. So I would like to organize the following part of our discussion in terms of three different thematical areas, namely first in terms of brands, that where we start now, then in terms of distribution, PR, and especially training, and then last but not least in terms of retail. So I would like to start. Is it okay if I sit here, or would you like me to have... Both is fine with me, so I'll just sit down. I think it's more, so let us start with the first question. So especially for you, Kathryn and Alexandra, the brands that you've been working with have specific initial ideas when they come or when they consider the German market. Can you talk a little bit about the brands' conceptions, misconceptions, and proper approaches how to ideally think about the German market? And I think we are,
Okay, so I mean, it's different. But most of our suppliers, of our brands, they start, kind of, okay, we know we are niche, we have to start slowly, we just want selective stores, we just want, I don't know, 5 up to 10 point of sales. For Germany, for Austria, even less, and for Switzerland also less. So they start kind of decent. And then we start and we say, okay, we try to make very clear from the beginning on the situation on the German market and what are real expectations and unreal expectations. And so we start, and it's for most of our brands, unfortunately, I have to say that after a while, 2, 3 years, 4 years, because of course, when we start, we have a great sell-in. You know, we are ordering, we are distributors, so we do have our own stock, so we are ordering, we have a great sell-in. The brand is happy. They are all like, oh, wow, yeah, Germany is booming, it's great, you know, we start, and the great sell-in, the orders are great. And then after 2, 3 years, it's coming up to the truth. Mm-hmm. Because then we almost did the sell-in, and now it's coming up to reordering. How is a point of sale working actually? Are the reorders sustainable? And then we start getting discussions with the brands. We start getting discussions because they're like, yeah, but you're going down every year. You did such a great sell-in, and what's happened? And then actually it starts to really, the discussion is starting, and to get along with, again, with a real expectation, with a realistic expectation. And this is, but we do, of course, they are different, you know, we have a lot of brands and they're all acting differently, but most of the time it's this kind of cycle it takes. At the beginning they are very happy, and then when they see that really something is going, it's moving, and they see the opening of point of sales on the market, and after 3, 4 years, it's getting difficult.
So if I may just follow up, after these 3 years, what do you tell them? Or how are the conversations then developing?
We always tell them, listen, you don't have to compare the sell-in and the opening of a new store with the reordering after all, because then it's getting a certain routine. And for the sell-out, for the reordering, our influence is kind of limited. You know, we don't have our own sales staff in every store, so we can do the training and we can support and everything. But at the end, the sales is done at the point of sale, and there our influence is kind of limited. And so we try to explain them that they don't have to see the sell-in; they have to see the follow-up now. And to have a little more patience also. You know, it's not, especially if it's a brand new line, a brand new brand, it needs time that the brand can establish internationally on the German market, and it needs time. And this is what we try to explain.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that we will follow up on that, especially when we talk about training and retail. But Kathryn, do you see also these kind of, on the one hand, these kind of developments over time? And once again, I'm curious what you see when you initially talk to those brands. What do they think about the German market, and how are you what are you telling them?
So for me, it's different than for Alexandra, because I'm an agent, and I don't. Lucky me, I don't have these discussions about decreasing numbers. But for sure, what I always say, we can be happy if we have an increase of 2 or 3 or 4%. But some of the brands still expect we're going to double. And these days are over. I mean,
is there a change in terms of Germany per se, or is that a change of, or what would you think?
Difficult to say. I don't know. But we only have the doors we have. We can't increase the doors. So we can't increase the sales. I mean, this is... you can't cut the cake in more pieces in the end. And the situation is not getting better, and that more and more brands are floating the market. Not to already scratch the next topic, but yeah, I mean, being stable with the effort from our side and the effort from the retailer side, if that works, regularly we can be happy. But unfortunately, it's not paradise. Germany is not paradise.
But especially, and that's again the question for you two, when you lead these conversations here, say a new brand, or you are visiting a new brand that might be of interest for you, what kind of questions are you raising, or how do you find out those brands that you are interested to work with? What kind of criteria do those brands have to fulfill in a way?
The question is, are they just want to get in the market, or are they, do they want to invest? Like in PR, for example. I have brands that say, yes, we want PR, they do PR for 15 years, and you see the growth with the PR. It is an investment of, I guess, a minimum of 18,000 euros a year, as a minimum, more or less. And I have other brands who say, no, we don't do this investment, but we accept that we have a lower turnover, and we are fine with that, but we are present in the market. And so I leave it up to them. Some say, yeah, can we find a middle way? And I said, yeah, difficult. Huh?
So if I would phrase it or would summarize it, it's a more conservative approach towards growth. So it's a kind of realistic approach that you grow slowly over a longer period of time. I'm always very conservative. Because otherwise you get pushed and nobody wants to be pushed. I mean, Alexandra, do you share that?
Yeah, I mean, concerning the question, what for us are the criteria for new brands? For us, first of all, it's the whole business is a very emotional thing. Yeah, you see the person behind the brand, you see, okay, I can get along with it, the story is good, the person is sustainable, maybe it's family business. You know, it's an emotional thing first. But then for us, of course, as distributor, it's very important the quality of a product. Because as I said at the beginning, the sale is done at the point of sale. And what is sold is a fragrance and not the story. The story is nice, everything, but what's sold is a fragrance. If the fragrance is not good, so for us, the quality of the fragrance is very, very important. But also, that's our experience, if a brand is internationally established, that helps us a lot.
So do you, like, when you speak to those people, do you ask where are you sold, where you represented?
Yeah, you know, for us, most of the brands we really build up from the first second. And then we ask, what are your plans internationally? How do you want to expand? So if they say, yeah, next month we plan to be in United States or London or whatever, it's very important for us. It's not important that we get, you know, a well-established line, no. But if the line has a plan and the willing and the financial potence, the financial power to expand internationally, that's very important for us. Very, and also for us, it's important that the brand has a certain financial power. As Kathryn said, doing PR, it's a huge investment. Of course, it's our job as a distributor, but we need the support from the brand for press, for example. And these are our criteria.
I would like to introduce Silvia and Christian as well, and we are maybe going also to the second question. The second question is, what kind of brands perform well on the German or German-speaking market, and what are their main characteristics? Maybe we can switch this discussion that we had so far also, what kind of characteristics of the types of brands, what are typical characteristics of those brands to perform well on the German market?
I agree totally with your points. And the new brand want to have a special. We have more than 20,000, 30,000 products in the store, and why I want to have a new one. But we need new ones. But the customer changed, I think, the last 5 years. He always wants new products. But it helps a lot when a brand is in London or in Paris, international. But we always are thinking of the Arab people or Chinese or whatever, but we have to work with the German customers a lot.
I find that very interesting that you mentioned that the customer changed over the last 5 years. Can you explain what you mean by that? In what terms do customers change?
Yeah, we have classic customers, and we have a lot of customers that change his mind. Today they want a fruity smell, tomorrow a wooden smell, I don't know.
So in the past it was much more defined? What
Yes.
kind of, okay. So you see more diversity in terms
Yeah.
of final, okay.
And you need the news,
Yeah.
of course.
So from your point, there's a need to have a variety of brands.
Yes.
Okay.
But when you have brands and we don't sell it, what
Yeah.
can we do together?
True.
That's the point.
Christian, do you share this, or what do you?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, for example, if you are a brand who wants to emerge into the German market, what you have to ask yourself. So you have to ask yourself, are my perfumes really, really good? Next, what is your USP? What makes you and your brand special? And I mean you and your brand. The brand has to tell a story, but aren't you the person behind it? So who's going to walk into the perfume stores in Germany? You have some experts here, Mrs. Stricker, Kathryn Malley, Mr. Open. You present them your brand and show them, convince them what is special. But if you yourself, as the founder or the perfumer, would come into the German private perfumery and do kind of an event, that's something special, because this is, in Germany, a personal business. You want to talk from owner to owner, so let's start.
Okay. I would like to follow up. Do you have an? Yeah, sure. Yeah.
As we were talking about the change of customers
Yeah.
in the last years, and this is what we discussed yesterday and today a lot, we had a decrease of turnover within the last 5 to 10 years because we had a lot of Arabs and Russians. But these are gone. They are gone. And now we are going back to normal, to the normal German average customer who's not buying fragrances for 250 euros, who's not wearing regularly heavy oud sentences, who's not buying a new scent every day and doesn't have 15 on the shelf. This is not the average German customer. So this is why I think it's healthy in the end. It hurts, but it's very healthy.
More realistic, so.
Exactly, because we don't have high expectations anymore. But we are suffering and it hurts, yeah, as always.
I would like to follow up on that, especially what Alessandra said after these 2-3 years again. The third question that I raised here is what kind of techniques, practices, and ways of means of brands to secure competitive advantage are there? So Kathryn also mentioned that to a degree with PR. What other ways of means or what other techniques do you see once you have those brands on the market to secure their advantage that you have?
As Madame Schöne said, it's very important that they're bringing out new fragrances regularly. that the variety in the portfolio of the brand satisfy normal, regular German customers as well as tourists. Because, I mean, yes, they are coming less, that's true, but still we do have them. We do have, and maybe we get new, we don't know, I don't know yet, but maybe we get new tourists. Chinese would be a good opportunity. So the variety in the portfolio is very important for us. And getting novelties, because as Madame Schöne said, the customer is coming into the store, what's new? What's new? What do you have new? They are interested in new, maybe they like the brand already, so what's new in the brand? XY. And but first of all, it's really the quality. Yeah. It's the quality of fragrance, because even if it's a very untrained customer, he has a nose, you know, he can smell, okay, and he's selecting. He says, okay, this doesn't smell good, on this the quality is very important.
Yeah. Chris, I think Chris also mentioned that.
I think there are some points you will have to think of before you enter the German markets. The perfumeries in Germany, they need samples. Do you have samples? Is that in your business plan? Now, they want window decorations because the private perfumers have windows and they want great decorations. That's gonna cost you a fortune, but you have to do it. And the last, to get into the private chains who have 10, 20 or more perfumeries, you will have to give condition and margin that hurts you so bad. If you don't have them, you will stay between 10 and 30 or 40 perfumeries. If you want to go big in Germany, calculate margin. How big are the margins of the big players? The conditions they want?
Yeah, I mean, we discussed it. So they're demanding an extremely, that's a change we're facing a lot. They are demanding kind of 55% netto margin, and plus bonus, plus samples, plus window decoration, plus, you know, events in the store, everything. Training, regular training, of course, PR. So pardon? Freelancers, yeah. That's really, and that's for us as a distributor, it's the biggest change we have to face in the last 2 years. The conditions, the margin, the discussions about the margin and the conditions.
I would like to, since we are about, 30 minutes in the discussion, I would like to switch to the second page, focusing on brands. And my next question would be for Silvia Shona again. As we see, or as we know, there are more and more brands coming to the table. The question that I raised here is there room for more brands? And if so, what do they have to bring to the table in order to be of interest, especially also for retail? We will cover also you two in a second, but from a retailer's perspective, what is important when it comes to new brands?
Yeah, you don't have the space for all the news, and I think it's a work together.
So you mean the work with distributors?
Yes.
Or,
Yes.
What about brands that work directly with retailers? Or some of the brands tell you that their intention is to work directly with a retailer.
Yeah, it's for the future not so good.
Okay.
Because the first step is okay, but what's coming after is not, you cannot be happy.
Yeah.
And it's very good you have some Miss Malley or Mrs. Stricker.
Yeah.
It's better.
Yeah. Sure.
It's of course it's better because for a store, as she said at the beginning, the first order, easy. But then, you know, the reordering, it's smaller amounts. So over a distributor or over agent, the customer has a possibility to place an order, 3 pieces of line XY, 4 pieces of line, so, you know, accumulated order. So this is a big advantage. But as well, you know, when it comes up to day-to-day business, we want to do a window decoration, for example. You know, if you have just a contact person abroad, you know, you have to call, oh no, okay, time schedule, you know, it's very, for the day-to-day business afterwards, I think it's, at least for Germany and for our territory, for the most of the stores, it's very important to have a distributor or agent.
Right, right. Do you agree? Like, or the question is there room for more brands? When you walk through the hallways here, on what kind of basis do you make this decision to approach brands, or what kind of brands that you find interesting, and where do you see potential?
Honest?
Well, your decision.
It's the needle in the haystack.
Uh-huh.
The market is floated with really pretty, strange concepts, ideas, packagings, scents. I don't get them. I think many other people don't get them, with expectations behind. The client pays the shipping. The client gives me, I don't know, a prepayment. All these things, no. Some people even, they have I met perfumers with wonderful scents, but they didn't know their own story or even had it written down. Or people, it's a business, it's not a hobby in the end. Yeah. And some really think it's a hobby, or it's easy, or they have some money beside. No, it's a long-term business.
Too much copies from the copies.
Yeah. And more wood.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
I have to add, I personally think there is room for new lines. There is room, but we have to be aware, as Madame Schöne said, the space is, you know, it's still the same. You have the space you have. So a new line, most of the time, is repressing another line. Something has to go out for that something new can come in. And that's the problem. Yeah.
And not to forget the novelties of the already existing brands. I mean, there are at least 2 novelties for each brand each year. And the retailers always ask me, okay, do you have more space for me? You come with a new brand and 4 new novelties, or 5 or 6. Think about that. And I'm not the only one. Mr. Stricker comes with the next 6 novelties.
I mean, the next and final question for this part, focusing on brands, is once again catching up on what you said. Are there main directions or main themes for artistic perfumery in Germany? From what I understand, and if I see you shaking your head, you see so to say, the opportunity of having a diverse environment.
I think that's very difficult. You know, as Madame Schöne said, it's changing. Today the customer loves floral. Tomorrow he loves ambery. Yeah. That's really changing. And coming back to the beginning, that's why it is important to have a brand with a certain variety. That they have fragrances, floral ones, ambery ones, maybe one fragrance with oud, okay, that, you know, the variety. But to say, okay, now all Germany is on floral fruity, that's too easy.
Yeah.
No, but it's true that you should have some kind of orientals for the southern part of Germany, where you find Arabians still. In some weeks in the year, it's a lot of them, and then they can do a good turnover. On the other hand, in the northern Germany, they would rather stay with light, clear, clean, white flowers, citrus. So you should have these. And for the male, Fougère works always good in Germany. Fresh Fougère is a good one. But you have to consider that some of these guys here should come around the corner and enter the door of the perfumery about every 3 to 4 months. Minimum twice a year. You have to have a head-to-head talk with the owner of the perfumery or If it's the store manager who does the decisions, you will have to be there. But now we have a new player in the scene because Douglas, which was a good player in certain cities, they have a new management now, and they want to go into niche. So you today also have the possibility to go on a brand fair in Berlin, hosted with Douglas. But this is a kill or die game, I would say.
Maybe we can leave that for the retail discussion at the end. I would like to switch to the second theme, namely distribution, PR, and training. And once again, my question would be for Alexandra and Kathryn. The first question that you see here is a very broad and rough one. Maybe we can integrate also the second one, namely the first would be, how does a distributor in Germany work compared to an agent? What do you see as your responsibilities, agent versus distribution? But maybe we can integrate the second question as well, namely how, and you mentioned that at the beginning outside, how has distribution changed over the last few years, and how will it change in the future?
So the rough difference for sure is the agent is not buying the stock. So my clients send me the order and the brands ship it directly. So I don't have the risk of stock, of warehousing, etc. But I also don't have the duties like paying for the PR because this is up to the brand. So my business is much smaller, for sure, but it's also less risky. The rest is more or less the same in terms of client handling, trainings, etc. But for me, I do it by myself all the time, all the years, because I'm focusing on keeping it on niche. And some people wonder why I do that. Because my brands want it like that. Some of them even say, better to close the door than to open a new one. So I focus really on private and concept stores, etc. And this is how I can do it. I couldn't do it with chains. Not possible. I just don't have the capacity. And I think that's the main difference.
The follow-up would be, so I mentioned that you founded Lafferty's in 2010.
Exactly.
What was the picture, or what was your approach back then, and how has that changed, and what do you anticipate also for the future? How is your business still the same as in 2010 in terms of what you do or how you approach retailers?
Yes,
okay.
More or less.
Okay.
It's a little bit different. We discussed this a lot this morning because the people on the floor, the salespeople,
okay,
are getting different and harder to work with. They're less educated, less sophisticated, less interested in selling interesting, beautiful, expensive brands. And some clients you lose through this because they just don't look after their sales stuff. They don't care, they treat them bad, I don't know what, but... So this is why I focus mainly on the private stores, because they are the owners behind who take care of this.
Yeah, okay, the difference is obvious. Everything she has no risk, we have the whole risk of taking a stock. Of course, we have advantages. We are a lot more flexible. We can act a lot more along our strategy, and we can do a lot more business. Yes, of course. But the problems we are facing are about exactly the same. Yeah. So
the challenges. The third question here on the slide is, how would you describe the collaboration with retailers? That has changed, I guess.
Yeah, okay, for us, it's, as I said, I think this is a big difference. Even I'm not sure, but for example, the retailer, of course, is asking us for the conditions. and as an agent, you don't have it. Yeah, or you don't do it, you don't have it. We have to face this, and also the changement of the structure. You mentioned it in your slide. It has changed. The structure of retailers has changed a lot. We have more and more, not only Douglas, but smaller chains. And they are buying individual perfumery stores. So it's really a complete change. And these smaller chains, family-owned chains, they have about 20, 25, 30 stores all over Germany, and they're asking for conditions. And this is the challenge we have. They are asking for bonus conditions, and the buying, they have a buying department. The buying department is located centrally. So in most of the cases right now, the store, even they lost the responsibility or the power to buy themselves, because the buying department is somewhere located centrally, and they take the decision.
So that's probably a very challenging...
It's very challenging, because they take the decision, and the store in, I don't know, in the south of Germany, the store manager, she even doesn't know what's coming.
Yeah.
So because it was a decision in the headquarter, and so the store manager, it's like, oh, okay, now we have I don't know, Tiziana Terenzi, nice. So it's a big and that we, of course, we are interested in doing sales. So we have to follow up then with, but it's it's difficult, because to get them into the boat afterwards, doing the training, but they are not so into it. It would be better if they can really choose and decide themselves.
Right.
That's the feeling.
I'm curious how you mirror that, Silvia, from what Kathryn and Alessandra just said. You as a retailer, or you as a retail expert, do you see the same similar or the same developments and challenges?
Yes, I see the same, but we have to make the sellers proud to sell so nice niche brands. And with training, I don't know what, we can do a lot. But it is like a mosaic. You need good products, good sellers, good location, a good activity.
Right. Christian, I think, sorry.
If I may take the point of the training, is that okay if we start talking about that?
We can switch to the next slide, which focuses on training as well. Yeah.
So training is kind of my resort, as I do the training concept and brochure for the different company, Cartier, the Merchant of Venice, and do the trainings in German and Austrian and Switzerland perfumeries. So now you heard a lot of negative things about the German market. It's hard, it's a strong competition, it is so expensive. So you might think we guys, we have the typical German angst. No, there can be a positive approach to that. So if you have a nice line and you describe your perfumes in trainings brochures and you tell the story about your brand, you have to have a training brochure, okay? This should be in German, of course, not in Italian, not in Spanish, not in English. It should be in German. You would have to find someone who describes it and translates it. Then you need an overview that is only one pager where all your fragrances are on, with what's in it, what fragrance family, and what's the short story, so that the ladies in the store can sniff and train themselves and show to the customers as well. And third, it would be great to have a PowerPoint presentation with mood videos, or maybe having the perfumers talk to the owner of the brand. And maybe out of this, you can do a training event, or maybe also an event for the consumers, so that you get consumers into the perfumery. The perfumery says, these are our main clients who love to hear nice stories and sniff perfect perfumes. Let them get together. You build up a little monitor and you do a little spray and drinks and cocktail show, and that's always a good way to start up the German perfumeries.
Thank you. We are switching a little bit the schedule and focus more on training now, I would suggest. And we had this interesting conversation just before the session started. My question goes to Kathryn and Silvia here. Training surely also has changed, and I think in terms of retailers, you as a retailer see so many brands trained every week or month and so forth. I find it curious, how do you speak to the salespersons to make those brands recognizable and rememberable? I mean, when you train at a store, like you go there every, well, couple of weeks or months, and then after that day, there's a next trainer or there's a next agent or distributor. How do you deal with this challenge?
It's a problem of time. Normally, you have to look after a training after 2-3 weeks, and you speak about it, but you have no time. The next is coming, and the day is hard.
Exactly what I wanted to say. Sometimes it's now even hard to get an appointment for a training. For some clients, I'm running behind them a year, asking every month, oh, do we want to discuss the training dates? Because they don't want to let the people out of the sales. They don't give them the time. And then the salespeople are often so stressed, they don't even listen. Or they say, okay, we do the training. Normally I did it always in the evening with a dinner.
Not anymore.
They are not willing anymore. As well as the salespeople, as well as the store owner.
So Christian, since you are experienced, very
Yes.
well experienced in the training, is there a need to reconsider training, how it is set up, especially with the challenges that we heard from retail?
You have to be flexible, because you might have a little private perfumery chain with 5 doors who wants to have the new niche brand they love totally really kicking off. So they get all their ladies together, you have an evening dinner, you can make the big show. This is perfect for their concentration, getting their concentration. But in a lot of use cases, you will only be able to say, I will be here in your area in about 3 weeks. May I come by in your store and do a shelf training? Okay? So this is the opportunity you have to have. And if you're doing a shelf training, well, I think it has to be someone who's really lighten up the person. That's number one. And then you have to have stories that they understand really, really nice.
I think the aspect of stories is also in the point of PR, what Kathryn mentioned at the beginning, because on that slide I listed a couple of questions focusing on PR, and as you said, and probably you others agree, PR is important. It's always haggle between the brand and the agent or distributor to find money to secure for media. I think we should. We should. I think because of time, we should switch to the last topic of retail. And here, my first question goes to Silvia again, and also to you two. What demands do retailers have in terms of brands and their appearances, and have these demands of retailers changed over time?
The customer from today is all over the world. And he is always looking for new brands. And they have informations you have to think about, and what is it? Where he see it? It is a problem to be on the same level.
Okay.
You have a lot of work that you have the same level or over the level from the customer.
Okay, so that would lead back again to some sort of training or general overview of the market.
The training is very important.
Yeah.
Without training, you sell nothing.
Kathryn.
May I add something? But today, it's so difficult to be that quick because I'm not quicker than the internet, unfortunately. And sometimes I have a client calling me and say, "There's a new fragrance you didn't show." I said, "Yeah, I'm sorry, it's not produced already. Somebody talked, somebody leaked something." And this is a real challenge because people are talking about it 3 weeks. I come with a sentence that everyone said, "Yeah." And then it's not important anymore for the press. Also, that's the challenge of the internet. So I can only give the advice, if you have something new, don't talk about it, don't leak about it, discuss it with yourself and your distributors, and that's it. Really, because it only disturbs and destroys everything. It doesn't help anyone because the final client is totally confused.
Well, you talked about internet, and we are talking about country-specific needs. You have to consider that the community Parfumo.de in Germany is very big. And you have a lot of parfum aficionados who meet there and talk about perfumes. So you might try to get in touch with these Parfumos, because I think it's eminent for the German market to get good reviews in the internet. What do you think?
So this is also our experience. Final consumer is very often better trained and better informed than the stuff in the store.
At the store, yeah.
That's a little bit tricky. And so concerning training, I also agree it's very important giving a training about the brand to the staff, but in my opinion, the retailer also should invest in giving a own training to the own staff in terms of, a more generous training. Kind of, okay, these are the raw materials, these is, what we can't do. That would help a lot. But it's to address to the retailer.
Has your work, especially from a distribution and agent point of view, has your work in presenting the brands that you newly stock changed to retailers? Like 5 or a couple of years ago, how do you make the retailer, interested in a new brand or willing to buy it?
What we feel, the retailer is a lot more open. That has changed.
Okay.
10 years ago, we had maybe in Germany really 20 retailers who were really able to deal with niche perfumes. Right now, they are a lot more open because they saw, okay, with main brands, with main lines, with mass market, we are losing. So we have to differentiate now our portfolio. So they are a lot more open. So the presentation is easier now. That's for sure.
Yeah. Do you agree, or Christian?
Yes, maybe from the perspective of my sister who's running the perfumeries, we don't earn any money anymore with brands like Lancôme, Gucci, etc. So what we do, we sell, for example, clothes, but maybe we can switch to artistic perfume brands because there we do gain money, but you have to know how to do this. And for example, my sister says, in Kirchheim-Bolanden oder Pfungstadt, they still want their Davidoff and Job. So there you have to catch the retailer and fire them up for the niche and the artistic perfumes, I think.
It's funny what you say because this completely changed. In the past, they always said, "Yeah, but listen, with your brand, this is just being interesting for the customer, but I don't earn a cent. I earned it with Boss and whatever." And it changed completely as well as we understood. We have to get a little bit more margin. Our brands are more open to that, I guess. Mine at least. And yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that because it turned around 100%.
Yeah, that's because of the German discount and the internet prices that you get by Notino. So the typical German retailer who has a big chain or an online shop is giving minimum 20 to 30% on the retail price. So there is no margin left for them. And if they don't give these prices, the customer will come in the perfumery and said, I can't trust you, you're much, much, much too expensive. So the private perfumery has to find new brands, new artistic brands, but they will demand the same support that they are used to get from the brands like Chanel and Dior. But now they don't even do it anymore. The Chanel, the Dior says, we don't want the private perfumeries anymore. They're totally into online, into big chains, and the German private perfumery doesn't exist anymore for the Lauders and the Lacombes of this world. So this is a big opportunity.
I would suggest instead of focusing on these additional questions, because we have about, I guess, 10 minutes left, maybe, I guess. I would suggest to have a conversation with you. I'm sure that you will have some comments or some questions for those 4 panelists here. So do you have any points? Or, yeah, over there. Oh, here.
Hello, good morning everybody. I'm Stefano Regina, I'm Italian. I'm a retail specialist and I'm here with some colleague of trend research strategy. And first question is why do you think that if the client's changing is a problem?
So to rephrase the question,
why do you think that if the clients and generally the word, the approach is changing is a problem in terms of selling?
Why is it a problem or considered a problem that the final consumer, I guess,
if it's
the
changing,
final consumer is changing? Why is it considered a problem?
No. Maybe then it was misunderstanding. No, this is perfect. I mean, this is perfect. Our problem is that the retailer is not at the level of the end consumer. But the end consumer is coming in and asking for, novelties, but, what do you have kind of special perfumes? And the retailer is like, oh, I do have Joop. I do have Boss.
I mean, if you say that the people are always looking for new things, maybe you have to be the first to present new things, to trend to the people, not to wait them to come to you, to asking you something new. So you have to be maybe in a different concept with a different approach, and also I think not talking just to the low level. You have to, not training, you have to, I think, have an approach like to teach to the people, to educate your customer. But first of all, you must know your customer, I think.
I think Kathryn,
for this, you need salespeople who listen, who are interested. In order to be interesting, you need to be interested. Yeah. What I always say. And it's difficult to find them. You can train them, you can teach them, you can do whatever you want.
No, I know what you mean very, very perfectly. And I think that the problem in training is that you have to start with motivation. There's no training without motivation. So if you can spend a lot of money in training, but if you don't have the motivation, you train heavy things without a soul.
Yeah. I know.
And that's it. And also a question of time. You mean the time?
But I
is
cannot
important.
always. For every training, we had the problem in the past. You give them one present, next time they ask two.
But no, it's not a question of presence.
It's like that.
Motivation is never
something
tangible. Sometimes it's intangible. I don't think
I completely agree. But the problem is that really that's what I said or mentioned earlier. That would be my hope. We are training the staff on the line, on the brands, on the artistic perfumery. But in my opinion, the retailer, the manager, or they have to start. They have to train their own staff in or find the right stuff with passion.
Yeah.
Because we can,
It's true.
you can't train a horse that is already dead. That's what we say in Germany, When it's not interested, you can train like crazy. But if it's not interested,
It's true.
And so both sides have to work together. The retailer and the distributor or the
Absolutely.
agent.
Maybe one more point, and then, sure.
I guess you are a trainer and a motivator, so you're welcome to come to Germany because we have far too less good trainers.
I am a trainer, a motivator. I work for a lot of fashion company that made something like, I think, Esxence retail in terms of like Saint Laurent in Saint Laurent Paris, I was the one, Vivienne Westwood and many others. But generally, I think that the fashion approach is also the right one because you have to switch between products, much more into the lifestyle approach, because the people are not interested anymore just to a perfume, a kind of perfume. The way that they are approaching also different way of perfume is because it's a function. It's like a clothes. Today I wear a jacket, tomorrow I am a casual way. Also the perfume now is like that. It's not a question of something like that the people doesn't know, because otherwise it's not. If the law is so, if is so low the level, the quality is not necessary. So it's not like that, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think there's one more question in the back, and then we are about to finalize.
Hi, Alessandra from Lush Cosmetics. So I've worked in Germany for 4 years. I've helped grow the brand there. And I just had a question about pricing, because we know that, especially for Germany, less so for Austria and Switzerland, pricing is such a key element. And it made me really laugh when I saw your charts on the screen, and the top level was 80 euros. And I don't think I can even get a box in any of these stands for 80 euros. And we don't see the same relation to price in any other market, even like the poorest markets in Southern Europe. So how is pricing a thing in this world of fine perfumery in Germany? Because, from your chart, it was quite clear that anything over 100 euros was almost off the scale, especially in a market with such high, disposable income from most customers, and still it seems like there is this sensitivity, especially in northern Germany. So I just wanted to have a little reflection on pricing, and what do you think it should be, and is going too high a problem, or is it actually targeting a specific market that is there?
Thank you.
I think I had more or less all price ranges throughout in the 15 years, and I think it changed. As said, in the past we had a lot of Arabs, a lot of Russians who didn't care. I mean, they just spent it. I, for myself, now said I try not to cross 180 euros because it's just difficult. I mean, we are talking about 1 or 2% people of Germany who are able and willing to pay that. Yeah. So to play at least a little bit a role, I think, my experience is 150 euros is a good price point that everyone, if he likes a scent, is willing to pay. And for this, you can have a good packaging with a good scent, well done. That's it. Yeah. I don't know how you.
Okay, I think we are done, and I would like to thank all of you for coming. I would like to thank the panelists for being on the panel, and with a citation from Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. That's of course a translation, but life belongs to the living, and those who live must be prepared for change. I think there's a lot of change in Germany happening and will be. So thank you very much, and feel free to speak to the panelists. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Bodo Kubartz.
Thank you.